Hey YouTube, Dan from Southall Computing here today, and we're going to be installing a HD antenna. And let me just say here that this may not necessarily be the best way, the right way, but this is the way I'm doing it, and we're going to see what our results are. So pretty much we got a bunch of stuff here on the table. I'll put up all the part numbers and pieces in the description below, but pretty much we got our grounding rod, screw to help the pole not move. We got a wall mount for along the house. We got a coupler, two different varieties of those that we're going to try on top of the house. We got our G6 quad shield cable here, and some might say that's overkill, but I just prefer no line noise as much as we can, as well as we have our tools to get the ends onto the cable, grounding wire, and mounting plates. I'm sure there's something else I'm forgetting as well, but we'll be going over it step by step and be installing it, and we'll take it from there. Let's begin. So pretty much the first step I'm going to be doing here is putting this mounting bracket, I believe it's from Channel Master 9025 3-inch wall mount. I'm putting this at the highest point of my house. Basically we're going to work our way down to the bottom of the ground, and the way this works is this plate covers that, securing the actual telescopic pole that we're going to be putting in between there with a set of nut and bolts and screws to secure it to the house. So first order of business, we'll be putting in our grounding rod. So let's get to it using a sledgehammer. So next up, we're going to install our initial top bracket first. We're going to drill a pilot hole, get the first screw in for the bracket, and then use a level to get the second one in. So next up, we're going to line up the other side of the bracket here so we could get it perpendicular down to the ground with a level. Next in, we're going to have a nut and bolt combo here to lock in the top position. We're not going to be extending this mast the full length that it comes in. I believe it's 25 feet. We're just going to do the top portion because we don't need all that. Next up, we're going to install the second bracket, but first we're going to make sure it's level. Forgot to start up the video before, but basically we're mounting the antenna onto the pole with these nice little support brackets. Basically these came with the antenna, so we're just getting them nice and snug on the actual pole itself. Okay, next up we're going to make a short little cable for the antenna to the first part of the amplifier there. Beautiful. Okay, so we're running out of light here. It's getting kind of dark, but basically what we did was we taped up with electrical tape to make sure no water gets into the connector where the antenna connects into there. And as well as down here, we did a little zip tie contraption for the first part of the amplifier. And again, we did the electrical tape around the connector so no water gets in, which is, you know, water is the enemy, of course. And we're going to put the other cable that's going into the house over there and zip tie it up and put the antenna up. So here we are. We actually went through the exterior wall of the house, but we actually, wanted to play it safe here. What we ended up doing was we went from the inside to the outside. Why? Well, because look, every house has those power lines, and that's the last thing you want to hit when you're using a drill, for example. We don't want anybody getting electrocuted, if you know what I mean. So the way we got through that material, through the house I should say, is we used a wood boring drill bit. So basically this guy here, I think it's about 1 foot long, and it's a 1/2 inch, so just enough to get one cable through. Once that hole was made, we were able to send through each of the cables. I decided to go with 2 independent holes versus 1. There's no wrong way, there's no right way for this, whatever you prefer. I just happen to want to make 2 for each independent wire. Now I'm making 2 wires, again, because I have 2 antennas that we're going to go out there. One for the UHF and the other for the VHF band. Okay, so once the wire was fed through here, what we ended up doing was spraying insulation foam, and we'll put up the picture of that we got from Lowe's. And we finished it off with typical caulk that you find for sealant on the top of it, just to make sure. Now pretty much this job is almost done. I still got to do the grounding of the pole to the grounding rod, as well as put in the coupler to also ground that out down there. But as you can see, this is pretty much our final product. And what we're looking at here is on the very top is our UHF antenna. I'm approximately, I want to say 40 some odd miles away from New York. And that's what that UHF antenna on the top is for. I did have to run a Channel Master 7777 amplifier to get all those channels in. And as well as my VHF antenna that I got pointing almost north to get my local stations here in Connecticut. Another thing to note here is make sure you go to websites like antennaweb.org or tvfool.com to figure out what direction your antenna needs to be pointing in. Once you have that done, it's probably also a good idea to bring a small TV that has some digital receiver built in to make sure you're getting the most optimal reception. Things like trees, buildings, and other structures will either reflect the TV signal. You might not necessarily get the signal, and it might require some tweaking, moving the antenna left to right until you actually get a 100 to 90% signal strength on your television. So the cables that we're running outside coming into the house are actually going into the back of this server PC that I have running inside my home. Here we have 2 digital receivers hooked up to the machine. We're actually running DVR software called SageTV. SageTV has actually been around for a while. They were acquired by Google, but just recently they were made an open source project where now updates are readily available once again. We've already pre-configured the channel selections on the server itself. Well, let's run upstairs and see how this thing looks on a regular old TV. Now, before we do a live demo, you're probably asking, well, Dan, why are you using SageTV? Well, quite simply, it's a free DVR. Back in the day, I used to use other third-party software called Beyond TV, and that unfortunately has gone to the wayside for more of a corporate environment rather than a consumer-level product. I happened to stumble upon SageTV right before they were acquired by Google, so I was able to grab licenses. At that point, Google was nice enough to provide free electronic programming guides to give us the TV show names, and I was running this particular setup on 4 DirecTV boxes. So basically, the server was auto-tuning the channels on the DirecTV boxes while SageTV was recording, and also compressing it into H.264 formats once it was done with the recordings. The recordings all pretty much got recorded in MPEG-2, which is not a compressed format and takes up a tremendous amount of space. However, these days, I'm just doing the over antenna thing. So, if we go to TV and Program Guide, you can see all the channels I have readily available. And for example, hopefully we won't get hit with a copyright music here, but we're going to take a quick peek on what's playing on the television.
Spectrum TV has superior HD.
Every once in a while I'll get a little glitch. It could be anything that causes it. But for the most part, I mean, I am very, very happy with the outcome of this. The VHF antenna is basically just getting this guy here, channel 8, as well as channel 49, and the remaining of the other channels are coming out of New York and providing these channels. Unfortunately, my home is not on top of a hill. Basically, if I lived a quarter of a mile away from here on top of a hill, my channels would pretty much triple that at that point, getting all the Connecticut stations and pretty much all the New York stations. I forgot to mention, in order to get the electronic program guide, which is this guy here, to give you a listing of everything that's on the television, you do have to subscribe to a third-party service. And essentially that comes to about $2 a month. After the initial setup, antennas, and all that fun stuff, after 1 year, pretty much the system is going to pay for itself. And $2 a month for free TV, I think I can sleep at night knowing that I'm only paying $2 a month to watch television. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was kind of fun to do. I hadn't done an antenna setup. Maybe I'll do a radio antenna setup as well in these coming weeks or so. But yeah, I hope this helps anybody who has questions or is a little bit hesitant. That really doesn't take too much effort to do. It's just time consuming. Well folks, this concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. As always, if you like what you see here, give this video a big old thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, join our forums, leave a comment below. Anything you could do will be greatly appreciated. This is Dan from Untitled Computing, and as always, until the next time.